All right. So Peter, you want to get us started on,
What? You better put up the agenda. I don't see it.
so call to order.
Meeting called to order, I first.
There you go. We should have Sonia joining us shortly. Delene, do we have anyone from the public?
We do not.
Okay. Peter, next would be the acceptance of minutes.
Well, we're gonna have to defer the minutes because we don't have a quorum. So we'll have to read those minutes and take them on the next month's meeting.
Sounds like a plan.
Did I punt on that one well enough? I'm feeling rather important on that big screen. Sonia, where are you?
She should be here soon.
Yes.
But I can move on to the summary for the fall planting season, if that's all right.
That should be fine.
Okay, so same as we did for the spring season, I kind of had a rundown with some metrics, how many trees we planted, native percentage, shade tree percentage. So I'm just gonna run down that data with totals for both the fall planting season as well as for the year. So spring 2024, Paul and I got 221 trees in the ground. For the fall season, me, Paul, Gay, and some help from Sonia, we were able to plant 233 trees, so 20 more than the spring. So our total for the calendar year of 2024 is 454, which is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Our goal was still 500, but I can kind of get into the funding availability later. In the spring, to plant those 220 trees, we spent $180,000. In the fall, to plant the 233 trees, we spent $193, a little more. And so for our total for the calendar year 2024, we spent $374,000. And in that, we expended the remaining ARPA funding that had, when did that begin, Paul? 2022?
That was 2022, and it had to be committed to a contract by December 31st of 24. And we have like another year to finish the planting to spend all the money, but that's already been accomplished.
Yeah,
That's good. Now we have to take care of them.
Peter. And what was the total funding to start with, Paul?
It was in the neighborhood of about $750,000 with the ARPA funding between the two departments.
It was a
So
good
that's-
amount.
Yeah,
Plus the other contracts we had at that point in time with the MLK corridor, and that's why a lot of times at that point, we were talking about the $1 million of funding that we had for trees, aside from the grant now.
the new grant, yeah. And then I did want to point out, so for 2024, our average cost per tree did go up slightly because we entered an option period in one of our planting contracts. So I think last spring, Paul and I estimated it was about 800.
Yeah.
Sometimes
average.
even lower, yeah, 780 to 800 per tree. This season was 800.
That sounds about, that was about where we've been there for a while, which is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we're using the number most of the time of the 900 average as an estimate for what it costs to put the trees in the ground through the contracts.
But then in terms of the breakdown of species and things like that, so for the fall season, only 43% of what we planted were shade trees. So I think that's very low. And that's something that we could try to improve on. And that's certainly something that's driving down that price, the cost per tree. If we're, the dogwoods, the little things are a lot cheaper than, let's say, the oaks and the maples. So.
And I'm actually seeing that percentage on the streets. I'm seeing the
Yeah.
understory tree getting a higher sort of physical presence.
Mhm.
Okay.
A lot of that is due to the availability of space. We can't plant a shade tree in a grass strip that's 2.5 feet wide, so it's a number of factors that are limiting in terms of how large we can plant, but yeah. Yay, especially 70% of the trees planted in the fall were native species to Connecticut.
Yay.
Oh, boy, here we go. It's all
Peter,
good.
just go on mute. Peter. No,
Thanks, natives.
and then, Gay, I think you said at the last meeting, 42 trees were officially planted
Yes.
through Gay's effort as the tree liaison. with
Those are
folks.
all residents,
Mhm.
meeting with them, right?
And I had 22 adopt a tree forms for the fall season as well. So we reached out to a lot of folks, and out of the 233, for it to be 40 to 50
It's not
of those trees to be residents requesting them, that's pretty good.
pretty good.
Right.
One last, one project to note is that, I worked with the TMP department, the Traffic Mobility and Parking Department, on the NRVT on Riverside Ave, right where we did our Arbor Day cleanup last year with Rich and Paul. So that area that we cleaned up from Casatelli Tiles all the way up to across from Riverside Cemetery, pretty much.
Painted Avenue, yeah.
There's a section where the guardrail, there's no guardrail for about like 200 feet or so. And then there's kind of like a mini park in there, open space. There's one large tree and some benches. So, TMP reached out to me, seeing if they could coordinate with us a planting in that area. We also had to take down a large tree there. So in December, we were able to plant 26 trees. We got some nice slender species, in the amenity zone to provide kind of a visual barrier from the road to the path, because it is quite exposed without any kind of guardrail. And then in the background, we were able to plant, a number of good shade trees. So in the spring, I think it's gonna look really nice. There's some, Sargentii cherries there, Peter. I think those will look really nice.
Right.
Um,
So what are the columnar trees, the narrow ones?
those are the Sargentii
Okay.
cherry. Those are the
They're gonna
columnar,
say
yeah.
columnar. Okay.
Mhm.
And the in-betweens are dogwoods?
In-betweens are I think the constellation dogwoods, yeah.
So we may have to work on the branching as they grow, we may have to work on pruning them up a little bit.
Agreed, yeah.
They're gonna get broad.
Mhm. The crowns are tight right now, but I think we'll need to train them probably next year or the year after.
I mean, the constellation should take the abuse. I mean, I'm glad they're constellations because the Florida's probably wouldn't take the abuse there.
Yeah. So that was a success, and they got planted a little late, but we're gonna keep an eye on them for sure in the spring, and we're just excited to get that done. So
We're
one just,
Just to follow, that kind of location are great for a hornbeam. Oyster Virginiana. That's a great location for that. We had an outside conversation about is it a good tree or not? And that's the kind of location that'd be very nice in.
yeah,
Not on the
Okay.
street, but on the land side, on the
the
water.
inside,
I
yeah,
like the hornbeams, yeah,
yeah.
we do.
Yeah, DOT was a little hesitant about the plan of putting so many there, but we kind of talked them into. It's gonna really improve that one spot, so I think it'll be really nice for the trail users to have the protection, the shade, and also the flowering, some interest, so. All right, that's about it for my summary for the season. When it comes to the spring, so I've been working on a new tree planting RFP to go out to bid. That is based on our $1 million grant from the US Forest Service, through the Inflation Reduction Act. And, that's about $500,000 that we have for different types of tree plantings, whether they're in-house or giveaways or contract plantings. So thank you, Peter, for helping me out with some of that language. Kind of going through the species list right now, seeing if we could improve the species that are listed in our contracts. But as of the spring, what we have available across our capital budgets is very low. There's maybe $10,000 to $12,000 left in terms of capital, which means citywide. We have a lot of funding available in the MLK corridor still, which I really wanna focus on and get others' input for. Paul and I have talked about creating new tree pits within the certain areas of Sono where there's just no planting space that exists right now. It's just too much pavement. So that might be a way to address that, but Peter, Rich, we talked about kind of revisiting what's been done in the MLK area and seeing what's taken, what's not.
Little background to know where our investments are worth it.
Yes. And the species that are working it or not, yeah.
And I believe a lot of those, when we get into the spring, will still be under warranty, and it was an Olmsted contract, so do we got ones that need to be replaced there? It should be under warranty.
Yeah,
And Sarah, I'll definitely work with you on that.
thank you. You have a lot of interested people over there. I think if
Oh
more
my
people, please let me know.
They do. I've gotten a lot of phone calls, some very nice, some threatening. Because they didn't get a tree.
Oh,
Is it caused, and we always wonder about that too, get a few where people see some trees planted and then everybody else gets jealous and wants more? Has that been-
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on.
That's what we want.
Good.
That's
So let's
exactly-
definitely meet up
Yeah.
again in the spring.
Okay, for sure, for sure.
So that's about it. And then again, this new IRA, Inflation Reduction Act grant, that funding will be available as soon as we can get it out to bid. But for the spring, we're very limited to these certain areas in Norwalk. I know I said this at the last meeting, but in terms of public tree requests, I'll need to correlate them to see if any of them fall within these areas that we do have money to plant within. And then fall 2025, we'll have plenty of funding to cover citywide. So that's just something I want people to understand too. Why aren't you answering my tree request? We just can't plant in certain areas this spring.
And we've asked for money in the capital budgets that would give us money to plant around the city again versus in the grant area specifically.
Yeah. Basically, ARPA gave us a huge bump in funding, and now that we've spent all of it, there's this adjustment period. Yeah.
You're gonna see that in a couple minutes.
Oh, boy.
All right, that's it. That's it for me for rundowns.
Okay, Tree City USA and the Growth Award. We went through our normal Tree City USA recertification process and we put everything together and the mayor signed it and we submitted it on January 9th this year. And just to give you some ideas, as we go across the categories of what we had money that we spent for tree planting care, maintenance, removals, overall management, and then obviously volunteer times included in that, and then other costs for things such as insurance, liability insurance, some of the filings that have to be done, the Tree Alliance work that they do with their fundraising, their outreach, the mandatory filings, like we said, for the grant stuff, their insurance, corporate accounting fees. When we put all of that together throughout the city, the total expenditure of the amount of money was spent was $1,151,694.08 for year 2024 for the Tree City. Just to give you an idea, that gives you an expenditure per capita of $12.46. And what I was just referring to a minute ago, to give you an idea of where we were back in 2022 with strictly capital budget money and the Tree Alliance money, we were at $9.74 per capita. Then last year, because of the ARPA bump that Sarah was talking about, we went up to $12.53 per capita, where we spent a lot of the ARPA money. And then this year was close, it was $12.46 per capita. So, and what I've gotten from contacts so far, it looks like the state forester has already approved our application for the recertification. And it's the earliest I've ever seen that approved online. And usually it's March when we're finding out. And now it's gone to the Arbor Day Foundation for their approval.
Good.
for what year in a row? also?
Oh, this will be the 21st. 21st year. If we are recertified for 2024.
I'm getting
Now,
old.
a little bit about the Growth Award. And the Growth Award, basically, last year we had it, and it was, as we always mention, the Growth Award was the 18th because it was 20 and 20. When we started in 2004, we received recertification for the 20th year and just applied for the 21st. For the Growth Award, it was 18 years and we just applied for the 19th because you had to be a Tree City USA for 2 years before you could apply for the Growth Award. So in doing so, this year, basically, we applied for several different categories as we've done in the past. And as we did that, we had 3 specific categories, and if anybody wants, I can get into more information about it, but we did the staff and the city forester, and it's basically anytime during the year, if you hired a professional urban forester with an education in forestry or some closely related field certifications, that would be Sarah, it was worth 10 points alone. And with the Growth Award, you only need 10 points to get it. So we had to put a whole bunch of stuff together, Sarah's resume and all of the different certifications and things for that to back it up. Then the second one that we did was tree planting projects. That was worth 2 points. And they wanted to know if you continue to do tree planting projects like you've done or more in the past, which we have done with what we just talked about. That was worth 2 points. And then departmental communication between the variety of projects that we're doing in-house, coordinating tree plantings, any types of sidewalk projects, between Sarah with Parks and Rec, us in Public Works, TMP, putting the package together for that. That was another one that was an easy take for 3 points. So we had 15 points out of a necessary 10. So we always do a few more just to make sure if there's an issue with one, we're over the limit, and that way there we should get that. And hopefully we'll hear soon on that recertification. So we usually find out, like I said, in March, whether it's gone through both the Arbor Day and the state forester. So
By Arbor Day, usually.
we know by Arbor Day. We usually do
I
know
mean,
by Arbor
yeah.
Day, yes.
How are
So
we gonna beat it? How are we gonna grow next year? That's a question.
Master plan,
master
We got a
plan is
couple
something being
things,
worked on.
yeah.
We've already got some things that we looked at for lining up, and that's one of the things we try to do is look at what we applied for this year so that we can start setting things up and what we do, setting up files, so it makes it easy to pull out what we need to recertify next year.
it's a lot, a lot
Educate.
to report, and
And just to give you an idea that between the Arbor Day celebration and the Arbor Day cleanup event, the attachments of the pictures, the mayor's proclamation, all of the different things, we had 52 attachments this year.
Good.
do you mind if I jump ahead of you in case I need to run? I'm just gonna jump to a quick announcement that the tree master plan is officially in the draft phase, and it will become publicly available over the next few weeks. So we're in the process of planning, 2 to 3 public presentations. One will definitely be at Norwalk Library, in person, available for folks to come and not just listen to what's in the plan, but also that's our chance for more community engagement and input. So we'll be doing kind of some activities as workshopping, getting folks input to the plans. So I just want to kind of announce that, and we'll be sending things out once it's on the city's website, and obviously we'll hope that some of you guys could attend or be part of the virtual presentation to be a part of it. So we're excited to get it into this phase. It started 2023 with the inventory, and now over the last year, they've been working on the actual plan itself, but it's pretty, has a lot of substance, and they did a really great job of giving us really hard data, but also communicating it and writing it down in a way that's digestible for all different stakeholders within the community and within the city. So
So they
this is Planet Geo is the consultant, and they run the tree inventory software, called Tree Plotter. So they're a national company. This is their primary thing, is they work with municipalities on management plans just like this. Yeah. So just be on the lookout.
Okay. We can go back to the Arbor Day event. Basically, we've been in contact with the principal of Cranberry Elementary School. And we are gonna do the Arbor Day celebration up there, and I believe it's 25th of April this year is the Arbor Day proper, last Friday of April. So we will begin the planning meeting. Sarah's gonna be starting to work with the school for the planning of that, with the people in Parks and Rec, so that they can put together the program. The other thing that we're gonna talk about too is I did talk with Rich yesterday about the Arbor Day cleanup event, and that would be on April 23rd this year, the Wednesday before Arbor Day. And I know you've come a couple of times, Peter, with that. And we're looking to do another section right now. Rich has kind of suggested another section of the NRVT that we hadn't gotten to previously. It works out really well. There's a great space for the tree companies to be able to park and then work on what they need to work on, and then not interfere with local traffic either.
Oh, it needs it.
So Rich is gonna start contacting the tree companies, and he will be working with Sarah on that.
I mean, there's seldom a day I go by that there's no one on that trail. Someone's always on it in that section.
Mhm. Yeah. All right, Peter, so Jeff isn't here from the Tree Alliance, so I think that's a wrap unless there's other discussion.
No, I mean, I did go to the Tree Alliance holiday party. Paul, were you there? I don't remember.
I was there.
You were there, you were there, yes. So they have a plan moving forward for the tree farm, but Jeff will get into that more often.
Mhm.
I don't have anything new because I haven't thought of anything new yet. I'll be quiet tonight, all right?
All right.
So-
You want to adjourn us, Peter?
Oh, well, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting if no one has anything else to bring up. Do I hear a second, Sonia?
Hey.
I second it.
You have no choice, Sonia.
I know.
Otherwise, we'll be here till midnight.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good one, take care.
Bye.